So gaming handhelds have become really popular in the last 3, 4, 5 years, and it's been interesting to see the sort of rise in mobile gaming that's been happening around the last few years, and just how those games have affected hardware and hardware pricing all around the world, and sort of the options that are on display. It seems like each of these companies that are making peripherals, motherboards, cases, a host of computer related stuff. It seems like these companies have now stemmed into making their own dedicated devices, and the Asus ROG Ally X is a good example of this. Now, I'm going to compare building a computer for the price of one of these devices and the performance you would get to the performance of the device. So if you spend in South Africa, this device costs 18,000 rand, and that's right around $1,000, maybe $1,100. So I'm going to build a computer for that price on EveTech's websites, which is the premier computer shop in South Africa, and I'm going to see what sort of performance level you are going to get for that money. But the catch is that you do have to include a screen, you have to include a keyboard and a mouse, and you have to include speakers, because that's the hook of these kinds of devices, is they come all in one. These things are basically consoles that you carry with you, and these things now have the performance where for this one it has 24 gigs of DDR5 RAM, it has a terabyte of NVMe storage, it has an 8th gen I believe maybe an 8th gen AMD APU. It has the Z1 Extreme processor, and it displays at full HD. So these devices are no pushovers anymore, and it's interesting to see how well they do perform. So it's going to be interesting to build a computer to sort of try and match this, but adding in, of course, all of the other extras that this comes with. So I'm going to be building something that obviously is going to be better in performance, but you have to consider not only the performance, but also the overall usability and viability of the product. So yeah, so that's the idea. I'm going to start building it on the EveTech site, and we'll see what we end up with. Stay with me. So the big thing in saving money with building computers, and what a lot of these sites now offer, are their sort of own building platforms for building computers online, and sort of just making quotes for yourself and comparing what it would cost. Now, we have quite a big budget here today, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to EveTech. Has in my opinion the best computer building tool out there. So I'm going to go to gaming PCs, and I'm going to start with something that I think is going to be right around the ballpark that we are going to be looking at. So our budget is right around 18,000 Rand. So we are probably going to do a Ryzen 7 PC for that. That's what I would choose if I were building this PC. And right out of the gate, we have some good options. For 15,000 Rand, we have a 5700 PC, so that's an 8-core CPU, with a 4060 8 GB. Now, performance-wise, this is going to blow any handheld device out of the water. So we probably want to do, I'm trying to think about the CPU, so we probably want to go with something like this. But yeah, and this is already right around the budget. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start fresh and just do let's say all Ryzen gaming PCs, and let's start out with something like this. Okay, so we are going to change the case for this. Doesn't matter too much, because it's sort of like, it's a matter of opinion. You don't want to spend too much money on it, because in this example it's not really about the case, it's kind of just an extra. So the MSI Mag is a good case. It's more than good enough, and it looks really nice as well. I think it has dedicated RGB as well. So it's a good case for this sort of test. Now we are going to want to upgrade the power supply to something just a little bit better. So I think we would probably do the Antec 650. It is 80 plus gold, and it's a decent power supply. Everything Antec makes now is pretty good. And then for the CPU, we are going to stick it with the Ryzen 5, so we do lose a little bit of performance to the chip in the Ally X, which is a Z1 Extreme, which is closer to the 7th gen AMD CPUs. But I think in pure performance, it'll still be better with a 5700 because it's an 8-core CPU and it is going to draw more power, so it's just going to have a little bit more bandwidth for performance. As for the CPU fan, we'll just do the custom, the stock one for this because that's what it comes with, and we're trying to save money. For the motherboard, we will probably stick with the cheaper one. So this is a A520M A Pro. It's the same one that I have in my system. Now, you do lose the ability to overclock with these. So if that's important to you, then, upgrade to a better motherboard. But for this example, I think it makes sense just because, it's low power draw, high performance sort of thing. And it's only meant to beat a mobile device. But if you're building a proper computer, you would probably want to overclock. As for the RAM, again, we can go with something a little bit cheaper. So we are going to do... We probably want to... Yeah, I probably might need to go 8th gen for this because we are going to lose out in DDR5. So I probably need to restart this because it doesn't really make sense to try and challenge a DDR5 handheld with DDR4 RAM. So let's start over and let's do... I think we're probably going to take the 4060 because it'll be the best for a performance wise against the handheld. So let's see if we can get some DDR5 RAM going. Yeah, something like this would probably be good. I think EveTech might have just done the work for me. So case-wise, again, it doesn't really matter too much for this example. This is harder than I thought it was going to be because we still need to get a case, a screen and a keyboard and mouse, and our budget is getting smaller here. So we do need some compromise. Let's so maybe those devices offer better value than I kind of thought they did, because I don't think we're going to be able to do DDR5 with our budget. Let's see if we have better luck with Intel. '12th gen is not going to work. That's going to be DDR4. 14th gen could work, but that's a Ryzen. That's a i3. Wow, this is not as easy as I was expecting. Let's try this out. So we have the i5 14400F, which is a 10-core CPU. And in terms of, again, case doesn't matter too much for this kind of thing. We do need to up that power supply a little bit, so let's go with the Antec again. So we have a 14400F. I do believe the F-SKU is not overclockable, so again we have that issue, but for this it's okay. Yeah, you probably do want to get a CPU cooler for this CPU because it does run quite hot, but for this case we'll just leave it as the example. And then this is a better motherboard because it has built-in Wi-Fi, which I didn't even consider. You do need to have that for this comparison. It has two NVMe slots and 4 DIMM slots, and it is DDR5. So this is a better comparison. Now, we do need to go 32 gigs because the other one has 24 gigs. The Ally X has 24 gigs. Yeah, this is not as easy as I thought it was going to be. So let's do 32 gigs of 5200 megahertz performance. We probably want to do... Yeah, we don't want just a single stick though. So something like this. 2 16 gig sticks of 6000 megahertz RAM. Now that's fast RAM, it's good RAM. Okay, and now for the graphics card. We are currently at our price. So, yeah, this is not the easiest thing. So it seems like I'm not going to be able to do DDR5 for this price range, and still have a screen, still have a keyboard and mouse, still have speakers, still have Wi-Fi. It's actually not that easy at all. And I'm choosing bare bones components as well. Okay, let's do the least viable computer that we can do for this example. So let's start fresh with a Ryzen 5 CPU. We are going to have to do DDR4, unfortunately, and I do think that you would still beat the performance of the handheld, but it's not what I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be easier to build something. Now maybe this is South Africa's pricing, maybe it's better in the US, but it's not that easy actually. You know, the other thing we can consider is doing something like a 8600G and then not having a graphics card, but I don't think it's going to match up in terms of performance. I think the 8600G is going to lag behind the handheld. I wonder if they have like an 8800, something just a little bit better. Yeah, these prices we've already gone past. It's not the easiest thing. So what we're going to do is we're going to build a DDR4 PC and see how close we can get to the performance of an Ally X for 18,000 Rand. And again, I thought this was going to be much easier. Maybe I'm doing this the wrong way, but I thought it would be an easy thing to do, and it's turned out to be quite difficult. So we're probably going to want to do maybe a 5700. I'm not seeing any, because we can't go 6 core because then we might need to go Intel. Okay, let's see if 12th gen is going to be a bit better. So we can do a 12th gen 12 core 12. I'm struggling to speak today. A i7 12700F. So not overclockable, but it does come with a lot of the basics. But again, the pricing is it's not really as cheap as I thought it was going to be. Now this does come with an AIO to keep the CPU cool, and the CPU will perform really good, but this doesn't have Wi-Fi and it only has 16 gigs of RAM. So let's do 3200 megahertz, just, you know, default RAM, nothing amazing, 32 gigs of it. And for the graphics card, I would want to have it to a 3060, but it doesn't seem possible at this price point. So a 3050, I wonder how the 3050 compares to the, let's see that quick. I'm just curious how the ROG compares to a 3050. Just looking for a good comparison. Yeah, this video probably is a better comparison, you know, buying a laptop instead of trying to build a computer to battle it, because it's yeah, it's better pricing. So apparently the performance of the Ally is around a 1650 Ti mobile. I'm not sure if that's true. But if we go off that, let's say it's around a 1660, then obviously the 3050 is going to be better. So let's do the 3050. We are at 7. That doesn't leave us with enough though. Okay, we're gonna have to do. We'll stay with the ROG A380, and we need a 1 terabyte NVMe. We need a basic screen, so this is just an HD screen. I'm not sure how big it is. We need a keyboard and a mouse. We need some basic speakers. Let's just take some cheap speakers. We need a, well, preferably a Wi-Fi card, but I'm only seeing adapters. That's a card, but it's too expensive. This is a card as well. Okay, 300 bucks for a Wi-Fi card. It's a slow one, so it doesn't match up to the. And then a decent keyboard and mouse. Probably go for something like the like a TKL one, just for comparison's sake. And a decent mouse would be something like this probably, but that's too expensive. Maybe let's just take like a cheap one. Even with the cheap ones, we're not getting close to the price. It's too expensive. I mean, it still need. Well, we're not going to take earphones for this because we took speakers, but we are at 20,000 Rand now, and okay, this is going to outperform the Ally X for gaming by far, but it's not the best screen. It's cheap speakers, cheap mouse, cheap keyboard, and so this is not as easy as I thought it was going to be. Now, I do think that there are better configurations. I just went onto the site and sort of like tried out a few things, but I also think that these two things shouldn't be compared. I think it is a better comparison to just compare it to a laptop, and I think maybe that's a video I should make instead. So if your question is, can you build a computer to challenge the ROG Ally X? The answer is yes. Apparently the Ally X's performance is around a 1660, so this is obviously going to do better than that. Not that much better, but better. I would probably go for the 3060 instead of the 3050 instead of the ROG A380, and this comes out to about 20,000 Rand. But you have to consider this is a much more robust sort of machine that you can use. It just has better overall usability, and there are more things that you can do with it. But on the other hand, the Ally X has that compactness, and for just gaming, lying on your bed and playing games, this might be a more fun choice, because technically we still need to get a remote for this as well, because the Ally X offers that as well. You still need to get a no, I don't think they sell it, but you would have to get an Xbox remote, and that's another 1,000 Rand. So yeah, I think these things have different use cases, and for its use case, the Ally X does what it should do, and I thought it was overpriced, but looking at this, I don't actually think it's that bad. So yeah, I think a better comparison would be the laptop, and I think I'm going to do that video next. So yeah, bit of a all over the place video. Didn't turn out exactly what I thought it would be, but it was interesting to me to see that it's not as easy to get that performance as you would think it would be. So thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Cheers.